Hey everyone, Matt here with Reach Your Summit. Really excited to share a first look at a new shelter with you that I just purchased for 2020. And I'm really looking forward to testing this whole system out throughout most of the year. So that system is going to be a hammock system. And the first piece is the Dream Hammock Darien. I added a couple of small modifications to it, and it weighs about 15.5 ounces total. And I switched out the double-ended stuff sack that it does come with a LiteAF double-ended Hammock Tarp stuff sack that's made out of Dyneema composite fabric. One of the main reasons that I switched out the double-ended stuff sack was I really appreciate the detail that went into this stuff sack. One end is in black and the cordage on the other end is in blue. So it allows me to differentiate between where the foot and the head end of the hammock are at all times. This is an asymmetrical design with this hammock. So it does have a designated head end and foot end. And I find I get a more flat, comfortable lay inside of this hammock. The LiteAF 11-foot Dyneema composite fabric tarp. I went with the one that has doors, just for better storm protection and to give me a little bit more warmth and coverage. And on my scale, this weighs right around 7 ounces. I did add a hammock gear mesh tarp sleeve in place of the double-ended stuff sack that came with it, just to pack it up a little easier and to deploy it a little easier when I'm setting up at camp. And then I have a Dyneema continuous Ridgeline and some Prusik knots. And I have some Dutchware Dyneema poly or spider poly suspension webbing, and these are 12 feet long each. And I went with the Beetle Buckles on one end to connect to the continuous loops on the hammock, and then some Amsteel 7/64 Evo loops, and this replaces my carabiner. The total weight for these is going to be about 5.5 ounces with everything here. And then the last component to my hammock system, I have a LiteAF tent stake bag and some MSR Groundhogs with some blue Reflect It guy outline, shock cord, and some Dutchware Hookworms. The total weight for this with the stuff sack is 2.4 ounces. And let me share with you a closer look at this entire system on the first trip that I used it on this past weekend to go over everything with you a little bit more. All right, so here's my setup. I'm really excited, looking forward to using this a lot this year. So I'll go over everything with you now. This is the LiteAF Dyneema composite fabric tarp. I purchased the 11-foot tarp, and the width of the tarp is 8 feet 10 inches. So I get plenty of coverage on the sides from rain and sideways wind. And I went with a model with doors. So when the doors aren't being used, you can clip them together, and this serves as a great clothesline inside the tarp. And I just clip to either end of the tarp. I love how the door overlaps, and the only thing sticking out right now is my strap and the Beetle buckle, and I'm getting really good protection from the elements. And additional warmth with everything being trapped inside of here. I went with the white. I wanted the green, but the green actually was sold out when I went to purchase it. And I was really happy to still be able to get one of these because they are not in production anymore. And I think Chris from LiteAF said he's hoping to get another run going in the summer. But I have a lot of trips and everything coming up, so I jumped on that as soon as I was able to. And you can see inside, I still have plenty of room. I could take some tension off of the tarp if I wanted to, but I do have the hammock tied out. And then the other doors over here. The doors use mitten clips with shock cord on all four corners. And then I went with some Dutchware Hookworms and some blue reflected line. And then I have some MSR Groundhogs. And what I really love about this setup is that I also have my hammock, which you see over here. This line is connected to the tent stake also. And I have that on both sides. So that way I can have the hammock staked out also. There are a couple of tie-outs outside of the tarp, so I can modify that if I wanted to, or if I want to open up the doors the other way and just clip them with the mitten hooks to this, I can do that. I swapped out the bag, the double-ended stuff sack made out of Dyneema that comes with this tarp, with hammock gear mesh snake skin. And then my continuous Ridgeline is from Myerstech Hammock Tech Labs. And this is a 2mm Dyneema line with 1.5mm Prusik knots. And this is reflective also on this line here. So I get a little bit of visibility at night when I'm using my headlamp and walking toward my tarp. Here's the tarp clipped off right underneath the hookworm here. Nice and secure. So this tarp is made out of a 0.51 ounce Dyneema composite fabric. And I had to go with the doors, just being here in New England in the Northeast. And I like to be out all times of the year, no matter what the weather is for the most part. So, you know, I opted for the doors just so I can have that little bit of extra protection. Here's the stuff sack that comes with the tarp. I actually used it for my hammock, which I'm gonna go over in just a minute. Another feature that I really like is how the tie-outs are at a 60-degree angle. So it allows the tarp to be nice and taut, don't have any sag anywhere, and that's going to give me really good wind protection. Chris and Frozen from Outdoor Adventures. This is a really awesome design. I really appreciate that. So I have no hardware on this continuous Ridgeline. I have toggles instead. I checked out a couple of Jeff Myers videos on this, and it's something I was really interested in because I did not want to have this tarp getting snagged anywhere with hardware and getting ripped, or my hammock system. So I opted for the toggle continuous Ridgeline, and this is just a really quick, simple adjustment. I can lift up on this, and one-handed, I can lower this. I can put tension on it, and you can either pull this down and loop it around the toggle, or what I've found to work also is just wrap it around the top of the toggle. So I go up and around, and then wrap around the other end of the toggle like that, and then I just go around one more time, so it looks like that. And then I let that go, and that's not going anywhere. That's nice and secure. All right, for my hammock suspension, I went with Dutchware Spider Poly, or the Dyneema Poly webbing, 12-foot straps with Beetle Buckles on each end. Those buckles just attach to the continuous loops on the end of each end of my hammock. And that's using Amsteel. And then I went with no carabiners with the webbing. Instead, from Myerstech, I have the 7/64 Evo loops, and this uses a button knot or a sailor's knot, and I just Larks Headed the Amsteel into itself a couple of times, then wrap it around the webbing here, and it locks in place. And this is not going anywhere unless I take some of the tension off of this line, and I can pop the knot back out. And I'll show you that in a little bit. Let's get into the hammock now. All right, so this is the 11-foot Dream Hammock Darien. Really excited about this hammock. Super, super comfortable. The width of this hammock is 64 inches. And as I mentioned, the length is 11 feet. I'm 5'10", around 155 in weight, typically. And I find this to be one of the most comfortable hammocks I've ever laid down in. It is asymmetrical, so I do have pullouts on this hammock. I have one here right near where the head will be, and another one in the back right near where the feet will be, and then a couple of additional tie-outs for an underquilt. But with my hammock gear underquilts, they just attach to the continuous loops on the hammock anyway, so I don't have to worry about that too much. The fabric that I went with for the Darien is a 1.3 Mountain XL. So I get a good amount of firmness, very similar to like a medium firm mattress, which is what I sleep on at home. And I find this to be very close to that, really comfortable. It's got about 30% more strength than the 1.2. Definitely more durable than the 1.0 or the 1.1. And those numbers, what I'm talking about is the ounces per square yard. So this is 1.3 ounces per square yard. Zippers on here. I added a couple of very small reflective tie-outs, so it was really easy to open and close the hammock. The mosquito net that I have with this hammock is a 0.9 ounce, and you might be able to go a little bit lighter. You might find some other hammocks that are a little bit lighter, but this gives me really good abrasion resistance. I don't have to worry about it rubbing up against my Ridgeline, getting holes in it, or any snags right near the pullouts. The Ridgeline is made out of the same AM steel. It's a silver color. I might swap out one of the continuous loops for blue, which I have, but that way I can differentiate between the head and foot of the hammock. Now, you don't have to use the tie-outs, and you don't have to go with the tie-outs if you don't want to. But then the hammock is just going to kind of drape in like that. So with the width that I went with, I like having it pulled out a little bit more just so I can get a really comfortable lay inside of the hammock. Inside I have my hammock gear mesh Ridgeline. I could throw anything I want inside of it. I have big sleeve in the middle so I can store a water bottle, or I can throw my jacket in there, or anything that I want. And then I have plenty of room in the outer pockets too. One thing I was a little concerned about was the shock cord being right near where I'm getting into the hammock. But when I get down, when I sit in the hammock or I lay in the hammock, I actually don't have this getting in the way at all. Perfect placement, and also the Ridgeline doesn't come down on my head, which I really appreciate. On some other hammocks, just feeling very close to me. I do have a lot of room inside of this hammock. Don't have the mesh hitting my face at all. Let me show you laying down inside of it. This hammock is super, super comfortable. It's got a little bit of softness to it, but not too much. It does have a little bit of texture to it. I'm almost at a completely flat position here, laying down inside of this hammock. So now you can see inside the hammock. See how my feet are. I don't have any calf ridge at all. Fabric is a perfect width and length for me. I'm not hitting the mesh at all. It's just above my feet. Plenty of room to lay down and stretch out. I can sit up, and I still have plenty of room inside of this hammock. If I wanted to lay down sideways, I can still do that. So here you go. I've got a good about 6 inches on each side. Same thing with the other side over there. All right, so here's showing you how to make the Larks Head with the Evo loop. This is so you don't have to use the carabiner with the suspension for your hammock. Now, I have the Dyneema poly strap here that you saw in the video, and the Beetle buckle on the other end. So I have a sewn-in loop on one end, and I have my 7/64 AM steel with the button knot at the end right here. So all I do is I feed the loop end through, take the button knot and feed it through the other end of this loop. Pull that in so it looks like that. Then I flip this over, have that top of the Larks Head here and the other end right here. Separate the other part of the Evo loop that is going through this loop, and then take the button knot, wrap it around, and put it down through both loops that you already have, and then pull it down. And you can pull that tight if you want to, and should end up looking like this. And you can shift it, you can slide it up if you wanted to. And you're basically going to be putting your button knot through this when you wrap it around the tree. And I pull that tight, and that's not going anywhere unless I loosen it. Then it will pop right out. So bear with me as I do this one-handed. I'm gonna wrap the Evo loop around my suspension strap. And then I'll take that button knot or that sailor's knot, and I'll feed that through the opening that I made with the double Larks Head. And then you pull that knot through. If it didn't go through, pull it tight and separate the ends, and it'll lock in place, and that's not going anywhere. To loosen it, just take the tension off and pull the knot out. The total cost of everything, the Dream Hammock Darien, I paid around $147 on Dream Hammock's website. The tarp with the doors was around $310. The mesh sleeve that I purchased separately from Hammock Gear was around $20. The Dyneema continuous Ridgeline that I purchased was around $20 as well. The Dyneema poly Dutchware loops, I think these were with the Beetle Buckles, I think it was around $41. And the Evo loops made out of Amsteel were around $10. The stuff sack bag from LiteAF was around $7.50. The MSR Groundhogs were around $2.95 each. I think the Hookworms and the guy line, the reflected guy line, I think that was around like another $20 or $25 from Dutchware. All right, so that's a first look at my new hammock system for 2020. I'm really looking forward to using this a lot this year. As many of you know, in my last video, I mentioned I've become a big fan of Dyneema composite fabric. So I'm really looking forward to testing this out. Had great luck in the past with my packs and tents that have used it. If you have any questions on the tarp or the hammock or my suspension system or the knots and lines and things that I'm using for this setup, please feel free to get in touch with me in a comment below. Or you can also contact me at reachyoursummit.net. Once again, this is just a first look, so as I do get more and more use out of this complete system, I'll definitely be putting together another video going over how it's held up for me after getting some trips under my belt with it. If you liked this video, hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel, as I'm always adding new content. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for the continued support. I greatly appreciate every one of you. Happy hanging, and I'll see you on the trail.